Hello, viewers of Jonathan George Villarreal's World Emporium. I'm Jonathan George Villarreal, and I'm excited to share with you how we can expand our knowledge of the world through the English language. Our videos cover a range of topics such as literature, history, science, and more to provide you with a well-rounded learning experience. Regardless of whether you are a beginner or an experienced learner, our expertly curious videos offer captivating and enlightening content to help you enhance your language proficiency. Today I'm going to talk about Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius with a series of illustrious achievements. He left a profound mark not only on the history of France, but also on the entire world. He crowned himself Emperor of France and built an expansive empire across Western and Central Europe. In just 16 years, he controlled the entire European continent, showcasing his adeptness at managing subordinates and rewarding them with medals, ranks, wealth, and noble titles. Napoleon Bonaparte, born in 1769 in Corsica, Corse, into an Italian noble family of 8 siblings, standing at just 5 feet 2 inches tall. Napoleon's stature and vision made him a monumental historical figure. He supported the French Revolution of 1789, rose to power as first consul after the coup of 1799, and later crowned himself emperor in 1804. In 1784, Napoleon attended the Paris Military Academy. After graduating in 1785, Bonaparte became a lieutenant in the artillery battalion. Actively endorsing nationalism, he wrote letters to Pasquale Paoli, the leader of Corsica, in 1789. He got involved in the complex conflict in Corsica involving three factions: the Royalists, the Revolutionaries, and the Nationalists. Later, Napoleon clashed with Paoli, who decided to separate Corsica from France. Bonaparte and his family had to flee to mainland France, severing all ties with Paoli. In 1793, after the French Revolution, Napoleon swiftly rose through the ranks of the military and achieved numerous victories on the battlefield. Most notably, he commanded Republican forces in the siege of Toulon, which was occupied by the British. This successful campaign rescued the National Convention and the Republic. His accomplishments led to his promotion to brigadier general at the age of 24. Following that, he focused on surveying the Mediterranean coastline near Marseille and devised plans to attack the Kingdom of Sardinia. In 1794, during the Thermidorian reaction, the Jacobin regime collapsed, and Napoleon was accused of association with the Robespierre brothers. He was put under house arrest. Shortly afterward, he was released due to his deployment in the French-Austrian War. Paul Barras entrusted him with command over the defense forces at the Tuileries Palace during the Royalist uprising. This victory garnered him fame, fortune, and patronage of the new ruling council. He was promoted to Major General and took charge of the Army of the Interior and the Army of Italy. Achieving success in his career, he found love and married Josephine, the former mistress of Paul Barras. In 1797, Napoleon left a mark with 14 major victories and over 70 minor engagements. His army extended its reach, conquering wealthy regions and securing food supplies and resources for the French forces. A significant amount of money was sent back home to alleviate the financial burden of the central government. He brought glory to France after 5 years of warfare across the European continent. In 1799, Napoleon Napoleon executive coup overthrowing the French Republic's government to establish a leadership that he directed. From here, the French Revolutionary Wars transitioned into Napoleonic Wars as he declared war on the entire European continent. Napoleon successfully engaged against the seven most powerful European alliances in human history. The first coalition of 1793 to 1797 comprised Britain, Austria, Prussia, the Netherlands, Spain, and several smaller nations. Their goal was to invade France by both land and sea. The result was France's complete victory in battles like Lodi, Arcole, and Rivoli, which shattered the first coalition. France signed the Campo-Formio Treaty, expanding its territories by acquiring portions of Austria, Prussia, Spain, and the Netherlands. The first coalition dissolved, leaving only Britain to continue to fight against France. The second coalition of 1798 to 1801 included Britain, Austria, Russia, Sweden, the Ottoman Empire, and the Holy Roman Empire. Initially, French forces suffered defeats against Russia. Napoleon returned from Egypt seeking vengeance. He first overthrew the Directory and seized power. He achieved victories at the Battle of Marengo and the Battle of Hohenlinden, concluding the war with Austria. The second coalition crumbled, leaving only Britain to oppose France at sea. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of France. In 1805, the third coalition formed with Britain, Russia, Austria, Sweden, and several other small nations. France's allies included Spain, and Italy. Napoleon devised a plan to control the Manche Canal to invade Britain. But this plan failed. Austrian forces invaded Bavaria, prompting a swift response from Napoleon. He went on to win the Battle of Austerlitz against the Austrian-Russian coalition. The victory is regarded as Napoleon's greatest, forcing Austria to sign the Treaty of Pressburg, ending the Third Coalition to cede territories to France. In 1806, the Fourth Coalition formed included Britain, Russia, Prussia, Sweden, and several other smaller nations. Britain encouraged the King of Prussia to issue a declaration of war against France. At that time, the Russian army was distant from Prussia. Napoleon concentrated around 160,000 troops and advanced into Prussia, defeating a 250,000 strong army at the battles of Jena and Auerstadt. Following this defeat, Prussia signed a ceasefire agreement, and Napoleon issued a series of decrees implementing the continental system, a policy to economically isolate countries under French influence by banning trade with Britain. After defeating Prussia, Napoleon achieved victory at the Battle of Friedland, compelling Russia to sign a peace treaty. Russia ceded territory to France and helped establish the Duchy of Warsaw, reconstituting Poland. Furthermore, France manipulated Russia into engaging in the Finnish War against Sweden, resulting in the creation of the Grand Duchy of Finland. While a semblance of peace was established, it remained fragile, especially with Britain dominated with the seas and capable of forming an anti-French coalition at any time. In 1809, the Fifth Coalition consisted only of Britain and Austria. The conflict on the Iberian Peninsula ignited when Portugal cut trade with Britain, defying France's embargo, and Spain sought to break away from its alliance with France. France then invaded and occupied Spain, leading to years of conflict with Britain on this front. Meanwhile, Britain was also engaged in the War of 1812 against the United States over territorial disputes in North America. Austria, seeing an opportunity to restore its influence in Germany, joined the war. Napoleon led Polish forces to capture Galicia, besiege Vienna, and emerged victorious at the Battle of Wagram. The conflict with the Fifth Coalition concluded with a ceasefire agreement on Austria's insistence. In 1810, Napoleon married Marie Louise, an Austrian archduchess, in an effort to establish an alliance with Austria and secure a dynasty heir. He held the title of King of Italy, governor of the Swiss Confederation, and had allies like Spain and several smaller states in his coalition. In 1812, the Sixth Coalition formed, comprising Britain, Austria, Russia, Prussia, Sweden, and other smaller states against France. Napoleon decided to invade Russia to enforce the continental blockade. The French army, numbering over 690,000 soldiers, crossed the Neman River. Russia employed a scorched earth strategy, destroying resources before retreating to hamper the French advance. Russia employed a scorched earth strategy, destroying resources before retreating to hamper the French advance. This campaign inflicted severe losses on France, with around 380,000 soldiers killed, over 50,000 wounded, 80,000 taken as prisoners, and more than 100,000 deserters. During this time, rumors of a coup in Paris forced Napoleon to leave the army and swiftly return to France. Simultaneously, the Anglo-Spanish alliance, led by General Wellesley, defeated the French at the Battle of Vittoria in 1813, forcing the French to retreat from Spain and ending their occupation of the Iberian Peninsula. In Germany, the Prussian forces seized the opportunity to defeat France. Napoleon rebuilt an army by gathering surviving soldiers from Russia and bolstering it with fresh recruits, totaling around 400,000 troops. In total, the French side had about 900,000 troops, but the German troops fighting for France often lacked combat effectiveness and tended to defect to the coalition. As a result, France achieved a complete victory over the Russian-Prussian coalition. After the ceasefire, the Sixth Coalition convinced Austria to join the fight against France and poured all their efforts into defeating the French forces, forcing Napoleon to retreat. However, Emperor Napoleon still hoped to rally around 900,000 troops in Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, and new recruits to continue to the resistance. This plan, however, failed to materialize. Napoleon was forced to abdicate in 1814 and was exiled to the island of Elba. France side the Treaty of Paris, which compelled them to restore the original borders to European nations before the outbreak of the French Revolution. In 1815, the Seventh Coalition formed consisting of Britain, Austria, Russia, Prussia, Sweden, and the Netherlands. This period is known as the Hundred Days' War. From the moment Napoleon escaped from Elba, returned to France to the day of the Battle of Waterloo, where France was defeated. Napoleon returned to France after his exile on the island of Elba and regained power from King Louis XVIII of France. At the time, France had only a small army of less than 90,000 soldiers, but through charismatic speeches and rallying the masses, he managed to summon former soldiers. As a result, he gathered an army of 280,000 soldiers, supplemented by 2.5 million motivated recruits. Napoleon led his forces to attack Belgium to prevent the concentration of the coalition and hoped to push the British forces off the continent. His rapid advance created surprises and forced the coalition to retreat after the Battle of Ligny. Subsequently, the Prussian forces were surrounded and defeated by the French in the Battle of Wavre. However, the culmination came in the disastrous Battle of Waterloo against the Anglo-Hanoverian forces of the coalition. The following day, the Prussian forces took advantage of the opportunity to attack the French. Napoleon's tactics failed completely, and he had to retreat in chaos. Returning to Paris 3 days after the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon was forced to abdicate for the second time on June 22nd, 1815. He was subsequently exiled by the coalition to the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic Ocean, where he remained to his death in 1821. Napoleon's wars caused the disintegration of the Holy Roman Empire and gave rise to the emergence of nationalism in Germany and Italy, playing a significant role in the eventual unification in the mid-19th century. Additionally, the Napoleonic invasion of Spain marked the beginning of its decline, weakening its colonial control and leading to wars for independence in the Americas. France was no longer the dominant power in Europe as before, paving the way for Britain to become the world's strongest superpower in the following century. The ideals of democracy, equality, and dismantling of the privileges held by the clergy and nobility spread across Europe. These ideas fueled reform movements and the establishment of democratic foundations in many nations. The war stimulated the robust growth of nationalism. Countries like Italy and Germany witnessed the rise of movements for national unity, leading to the formation of independent states. National borders were redrawn, monarchies were overthrown, and new nations emerged. The conflict with France caused Spain to weaken, and the colonial system in the Americas crumbles, eventually allowing the United States to expand its influence. Russia exploited the chaos in Europe to expand its territory and influence. The previously established alliance systems were shattered and new agreements were negotiated to maintain peace and power balance. In conclusion, Napoleon's life stands as a testament to the power of determination and audacity. His swift rise and ultimate downfall illuminate the complex facets of leadership and the consequences of unchecked ambition. Regardless of the judgments rendered, his life remains a captivating tale of human potential and the far-reaching impacts as individuals can generate. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Your questions, comments, and feedback are always welcome and appreciated. So please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting and enlightening content. By hitting the notification bell, you'll be sure to never miss any very exciting and thought-provoking episodes. Don't forget to share our channel with your friends and family who may also find our content beneficial. We are committed to providing you with high-quality, well-researched, and engaging content that will help you improve your English language skills and expand your knowledge. And I look forward to sharing more insightful and inspiring things with you in the near future.